Oil prices just spiked again. Every driver in America is watching the number on that sign and doing the math in their head. And that's exactly when the damage happens. When gas gets expensive, drivers start chasing the cheapest pump they can find. And the stations that win that race are the ones quietly destroying engines across the country right now. The few cents you save at the wrong pump don't disappear. They move from your wallet to your mechanic's register. Slowly, invisibly, fill after fill, until the estimate lands on the counter and there's no connecting it back to that cheap station you trusted for years. I picked the 7 most popular gas stations in America. The ones with lines out to the street. The ones you pass every single day. The ones you've been trusting with your engine for years without a second thought. And I tested every single one. The station doing the most damage right now is probably the one you stopped at on the way here. Station 7, Safeway. Safeway is a grocery chain. Fuel is not their business. It's a loss leader to pull you into the parking lot to buy milk and cereal. Because of that, they source gasoline from whoever is cheapest on the spot market that week. No proprietary additive package, no top-tier certification, nothing beyond what barely clears a decades-old legal minimum designed for engines that no longer exist. You're not doing catastrophic damage in one visit. You're doing invisible damage fill after fill. Carbon builds quietly. Injectors gum up slowly. By the time you feel it, the estimate doesn't start at $100. A mechanic pulled apart a 2018 Honda Civic at 85,000 miles. The intake valves were caked so thick with carbon, he had to chisel them by hand. The owner had been loyal to Safeway for years because of grocery reward points. She had saved roughly $50 total. She handed that mechanic $2,000 to undo what those fills quietly caused. That's the real Safeway equation. And Safeway's problem is predictable. The next station's problem is something different. Station 6, 7-Eleven. What makes 7-Eleven dangerous isn't just what's in the fuel. It's the total inconsistency. 7-Eleven doesn't refine fuel. Every franchise location buys whatever is cheapest in that region that particular week. The station on your corner might have passable fuel. The one 3 miles away is pumping something completely different. Your car's computer is constantly recalibrating to an inconsistent product, and that ongoing adjustment creates cumulative stress on your fuel trims, catalytic converter, and injectors. But the bigger issue is tank integrity. Many 7-Eleven locations are aging stations built on decades-old underground infrastructure. Those tanks develop cracks. Groundwater seeps in. When water mixes with ethanol blend gasoline, the ethanol pulls moisture, and that water-alcohol mixture sinks to the bottom of the storage tank, right where the pump draws from. A Toyota Camry owner filled up at a 7-Eleven, drove 10 miles, and watched his entire dashboard light up. A fuel sample showed 18% ethanol. The pump label said 10. His fuel lines were already corroding from the inside. One tank. That's how fast it starts. Wait! If this already taught you something, hit like and subscribe. The next tip upgrades your car instantly. Station 5. Sam's Club. High volume sounds like it should mean fresh fuel. Big turnover, fast-moving product. Nothing sitting long enough to go stale. But high volume also means the filters on those pumps get absolutely hammered every single day. When maintenance slips, even slightly, at a station moving that kind of volume, those filters fail. And when they fail, the sediment settled at the bottom of the underground storage tank gets stirred up and pushed straight into your car. A Ford Explorer came into a shop with 42,000 miles on it, running like it had 150,000. Rough idle, stalling at every red light, hesitation on every acceleration. The mechanic pulled the fuel filter, and it looked like wet coffee grounds. That sediment came straight out of a Sam's Club pump. It had already scored the injectors and damaged the fuel pressure regulator before the truck hit 50,000 miles. Sam's Club is not top-tier certified. Their entire value proposition is price. That works perfectly for bulk paper towels. It does not work for a high-pressure direct injection engine running tolerances engineers spent years calibrating. Station 4. Circle K. Circle K looks legitimate. Professional branding, stations on every major corridor, clean forecourts. Most drivers pull in without a second thought. But Circle K doesn't operate a proprietary fuel program. Industry reporting has documented a consistent pattern of purchasing distressed fuel. Product that oxidized in storage, wasn't properly stabilized, or didn't move fast enough at another distribution point. The specific failure mode mechanics see most often is water intrusion and phase separation. When enough moisture gets into the ethanol content of a fuel blend, the ethanol and water separate completely from the gasoline and sink to the bottom of the storage tank. The pump draws from the bottom. Customers receive that water-alcohol mixture instead of fuel. A Chevy Tahoe owner filled up on a Sunday afternoon. The truck wouldn't start Monday morning. The fuel pump was destroyed. The injectors were corroded completely shut. Total repair bill, $3,400. Not from years of neglect, from one single fill on one single afternoon. Circle K gave that owner zero warning before it cost him $3,400. Station 3. Murphy, USA. You find these in Walmart parking lots, and the positioning is intentional. The goal is to be the cheapest number on that sign every single day, no matter what it takes. To hold that price consistently, something has to give. What gives is the additive package. Murphy, USA has been connected to reported patterns of inconsistent ethanol blending. Modern engines are calibrated to handle 10% ethanol. When a batch comes through significantly above that threshold, the engine management system can't compensate fast enough. Fuel trims go haywire. The engine runs lean. Lean combustion burns hotter than designed and sustained elevated heat scores cylinder walls and destroys valves far ahead of schedule. A 2017 Silverado came in with carbon scoring on the cylinder walls at 68,000 miles. That's damage typically associated with severely neglected engines at 200,000 miles or more. The owner had filled exclusively at Murphy, USA for 3 years because the price was lowest and the location was closest. He needed a partial engine rebuild before the truck hit 70,000 miles. Every cent he saved was gone before the odometer turned another 10,000 miles. And Murphy, USA isn't the only station on this list hiding damage behind a familiar brand. The next one is worse, because the reputation was genuinely earned, then sold. Ever had a repair bill that shocked you? Comment the amount. Let's see who got hit the hardest. Station 2. Speedway. Speedway has excellent marketing. Clean stations, professional image, the look of a brand that takes fuel seriously. But Speedway sources from mixed suppliers, which means the quality of what's in the underground tank varies by batch and by region. Your engine doesn't tolerate inconsistency well. The computer reads fuel quality through oxygen sensors and continuously adjusts ignition timing and fuel mixture. When quality shifts significantly from one fill to the next, that system is under constant recalibration stress. Over time, that stress accumulates in the catalytic converter. Independent mechanics have documented Speedway fuel with sulfur content high enough to trigger catalytic efficiency fault codes on vehicles with fewer than 30,000 miles on them. A catalytic converter on a modern vehicle runs between $800 and $1,500. That's a part that should last the life of the car. When it fails early because of inconsistent fuel quality, the station that sold you that fuel has already taken your money and moved on. You're left with the bill and no connection back to the cause. Station 1. Amoco. This one is painful because the reputation was genuinely earned. The original Amoco Ultimate was considered among the best retail fuels available. Mechanics trusted it. The brand built real credibility over decades on chemistry that delivered real results inside real engines. But that company no longer exists in the form that built the reputation. BP acquired the Amoco brand. In most markets today, standard Amoco fuel is rebranded BP Supply under a legacy logo. The additive package drivers spent decades trusting has changed significantly. Mechanic communities consistently document a drop in detergent performance in standard Amoco regular compared to what the original formula delivered. The problem is, the name still carries the old credibility. Drivers who grew up filling at Amoco are still making loyalty-based decisions based on a product that no longer exists in the form they're loyal to. A 2019 Malibu came in at 61,000 miles running rough, with no obvious cause. The owner had been filling at Amoco specifically because he trusted the brand's history. When the intake valves were scoped, the carbon deposits were so thick, the metal stems were barely visible underneath. Nostalgia doesn't clean intake valves. A familiar logo on the canopy doesn't mean the chemistry inside the tank still matches what that logo used to represent. If this helped you understand your car better, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Small changes today prevent big repairs tomorrow. And your car will thank you every mile you drive. Tell me in the comments, what expensive mistake do you never want to repeat again? Stay tuned, because every tip you learn now adds years of life back into your engine. And trust me, your future self will be glad you didn't ignore this. See you in the next one? Your engine's future starts right there.